Hi everyone, I'm Noye and this is Afrific Rev Space. Today we'll be reviewing Elnathan John's debut novel entitled Born on a Tuesday. Elnathan John is an award-winning Nigerian author. In 2016, he was winner of Nigeria Prize for Literature for his debut novel Born on a Tuesday. In 2019, he was on the shortlist for Commonwealth Short Story Writing Prize, and in 2018, he was winner of the Miles Morland Writing Scholarship. Some of his works are published in Evergreen Review, Financial Times, and Chimurenga Chronic. So that's about the author. Summary of the text. The novel is a failed Bildungsroman. It revolves around the life of the protagonist. His life is rough from childhood to his adult state. He leaves home as a boy to attend the Quranic school. At the completion of that education, he's stranded because he doesn't have money to go back home. So he joins a gang of street boys who live under a kuka tree. They take hard drugs. They are the pawns of politicians. They do their dirty games for them. So shortly after he joins this group, they are involved in a hit and his mentor, the leader of the gang, dies. So he runs away from them to Sokoto, where he meets an imam named Sheikh. Sheikh is good to him. He takes him in and then begins to train him, raise him as his own son. And then after some time, Sheikh is murdered in cold blood, and Ahmad finds that he doesn't have anything to hold on to again, so his world returns to square one. So that's the summary of the text. The themes of the text revolve around themes of friendship, mentorship, Islamic religious rivalry and crisis, and then quest for domination or quest for power. But in this review, I'm going to focus on the novel as a failed Bildungsroman. So, what is a Bildungsroman? It's a formation novel and it originated in Germany in the 1800s. It's a novel that looks at the trajectory of the psychological and moral development of the protagonist from childhood to adulthood. It involves a journey motive. So in the formation novel, we find that protagonists move from maybe the rural area to an urban area, and because of that movement, they begin to see the world in a different way. Their horizon will be broadened, and that makes them to grow through those experiences, and sometimes too, because of hardship, they are compelled to do things that will make them to shed their innocence. So in the Bildungsroman, you have the shedding of innocence, journey motif, and the psychological development of the protagonist. So in this novel, shortly after Ahmad joins this gang, they are involved in a post-election crisis. They're actually the ones that initiate it. Their party does not win, and so they are angry. The politicians who use them tell them to do something drastic. And so they begin to burn offices and to kill, and it develops into a huge crisis. The police come to intervene, and his mentor dies. So he escapes from there to Sokoto, but on his way to Sokoto, he's involved in an accident, but he's lucky. Some of the passengers die, but he doesn't die, even though he's wounded somehow. So when he gets to Sokoto, he begins to go to the mosque, because they have this arrangement in that community where people who don't have food can actually go to the mosque to eat free lunch. The rich in such communities prepare free food and bring to the mosque, and then the less privileged can come and eat. So that's how Ahmad takes care of himself for some time before the sheikh, that is the imam of the mosque, notices him. And so they take him in. And then he meets the younger brother of the imam's deputy. This younger brother of the imam's deputy is his roommate at the mosque. And that one is exposed to formal education. He's enlightened somehow. And so he begins to teach Ahmad the English language. So if we look at the novel, we see that the author gives a lot of pages to the education of Ahmad in the English language. So when he learns a new word, he will write out its definition, he will make sentences with it. So that shows us his diligence and his character. He's someone who is enthusiastic about learning. And so when the Imam notices that his character is good and he's very, very diligent, he decides to bring him closer. And then when the deputy of the Imam breaks away from the Imam, because he eventually breaks away from his boss, and the reason is because he feels that formal education corrupts their people, and he's against that. Meanwhile, his boss is well educated and encourages community members to send their boys and girls to school. So because of the differences they have in this particular area, the deputy leaves his boss. And so when he leaves, space is created for Ahmad to get closer to his boss. And so his boss brings him closer. He gives him responsibilities. He helps in running the mosque, the day-to-day responsibilities around the mosque. And at some point, he even organizes a seminar workshop where the community members are encouraged and invited to come to the mosque to listen to the debate between the sheikh and his deputy. So the debate is about the importance of formal education. The boss is saying it is important, his deputy is saying it corrupts, and so people are encouraged to come and listen to their points, to then make up their minds which whatever decision they want to make about that. So, but the irony here is that even though the Imam encourages people to send their boys and girls to school, no arrangement is made for Ahmad to actually get formal education. So the only education he has is the Quranic education that he receives as a boy. So, but his boss continues to give him leadership roles, and by handling those roles, he continues to polish his leadership and interpersonal skills. He does well, actually. So then after some time, his mother dies and he goes home for the burial. After the burial, his auntie speaks with him and realizes that Ahmad does not really have anything that he can call his own that he's doing. For instance, he's not on a salary, nobody pays him anything, he doesn't have any savings, he doesn't have any form of formal education, he has not learned any trade. So he's just leaning on the Imam. So if anything happens to the Imam, it means that he will just crumble again, and start life afresh. So when his auntie speaks to him, he realizes the importance of getting something for himself, and then he tells himself that when he gets back, he's going to do that. So, but he goes back shortly after that, the Imam is murdered in cold blood. His enemies, the deputy, sends assassins who come to the mosque and they cut off the man's head in front of the mosque. So that actually brings about huge crisis in that community. A lot of people run away. And Ahmad, in the process of trying to run away, he's caught by security agents. They hold him for 9 months. And during the period of 9 months that they hold him, he's tortured terribly. So after they release him, he comes out, he sees his image, and he does not recognize himself. He's looking at a looking glass and he doesn't recognize himself. When he realizes he's himself, he says, well, that the best option would have been death. He looks like an old man. He doesn't have the zeal for life. They've amputated his soul. So eventually he finds his way back to the mosque. He sees that the mosque is still in shambles, and then someone else has taken over his room. And then at this point in time, he has no food, he has no money, he has no savings, he didn't learn any trade, he has no formal education, so he has nothing. And so for him, he just feels that death will be the best option for him at that point in time. And then so it means his world has returned to square one. So if he's going to do anything again, he has to start from scratch, like he has no accommodation. And before the Imam dies, the Imam actually talks to him like a father, tells him, oh, you are of age, you should think of marriage. Find a girl that you love, bring her to me, we'll do something about it, I'll help you to get married and all of that. And the Imam feeds him too. So the thing is, the Imam gives him all these things for free, and then he feels that the world is okay for him. But the moment the Imam is removed from the scene, he realizes that he doesn't have anything. So assuming he even married the girl, what would happen? Like, where are they going to live? How are they going to feed? What would he do? So the removal of the imam then shows that this young man has just been standing like a cripple, like leaning on someone else. He doesn't have anything that he can call his own. So then we go to the title of the novel. So the title of the novel, Born on a Tuesday, is just meaningless. Like Dantala means born on a Tuesday. So assuming he's born on a Monday, maybe his parents would have named him born on a Monday or born on a Saturday. So if we look at that, like when people give names to their children, for instance, in Ngozi Ezenwo-Heto's Encyclopedia of Igbo Names, she talks about how the Igbos give name to mark maybe their worldview or to show their anticipation for the future, that kind of thing. So if a child is given a name, it says something about the parents' worldview or the community's worldview or the circumstances that surrounded the birthing of the child. So, but here we have born on a Tuesday. Quid does not mean anything. There's nothing specific to that name. So it says something about their worldview. So if we want to look at it in a broader sense, we can say that this character actually is representative of the world in this text. This Sokoto world where we have Islamic religious crisis. From time to time they have crisis, and when they have the crisis, they would sit down, like the imam and some other top imams in that community will sit with top politicians. They'll talk about how to address this issue. After that, they go home. It's as if maybe there is peace. Then before you know it, there'll be another problem, and then people will get killed. So these are the kind of experiences they have. So it tells that this community has no structure. It's just standing on the brink. Anything can push it over. So the life of Ahmad is actually symbolic of the life of this community, that there is no structure to it, that they just live from hand to mouth. So if there's a challenge, they'll say, oh, we'll handle it. At the end of the day, nothing will be done. Tomorrow, another problem will come up. And then when the problem comes up, if houses are burnt and people are displaced, they will have to start life all over again. For instance, when Ahmad comes back from where he's being tortured, he realizes that some of the spaces in the vicinity of the mosque are now occupied by new people that he doesn't know. So the old occupants, where are they? Maybe their things were destroyed, their things were burned, and they have to go to somewhere else to start life all over again. So that is how his life represents, you know, the life of the community. So if we look at it from his life as an individual or from the life of the community, we see that it is a failed Bildungsroman. It is failed because there's no structure. We have like this, if it's in Nigeria, we say it's packaging. There's this impression that something is going on, you know, and then because of that impression, everybody pays attention to that packaging. But the moment that thing is removed, you just see that it's like a smoke screen, that nothing has been going on. And so the author leaves us with a question, and that question is, what is the significance of allotting a huge amount of the space to the printed copies of Ahmad's new words? So the author actually spends a lot of time and space showing us the progress of this boy's involvement in learning the English language. So the question is, what is the significance of that? Is it ironic? What is the author using that to depict in the text? So it's a question that you, as the reader, you have to answer it. So you can give me your thoughts on it in the comment section. So if you are interested in reading a formation novel, or you want to read about Islamic religious crisis, especially the types that you can find in Nigeria, that kind of thing, then this is a text that you should sit with. It's very interesting. So grab your copy today from Amazon, from eBay, and then read and let me know your thoughts on the review. So till next time, take care.